Lately, there's been a lot of talk about the death of physical media. Criticisms range from the inefficiency of disk drives to the limitations of the disks themselves. Many people believe that it's only a matter of time before everything goes digital and physical media is just a thing of the past. It's gotten to the point where a lot of people are starting to ask me why I even bother collecting physical formats like DVD and Blu-ray anymore. With that in mind, I think it's about time to discuss the supposed rise and fall of film on physical media. Back in the late 70s and early 80s, we saw the rise of the first media format designed to bring movies and other visual entertainment to the average home: VHS. Okay, so Betamax was in there too, but VHS was the one that really set things off. The concept was originally to make a format that people could rent and take home with them for a short time, earning the studios extra income after a movie had already left theaters. At this point, a VHS copy of a movie was fairly cost prohibitive, with an average price well over $100. It was actually the cost of these movies that prompted the rise of the video rental store, which soon became a common sight all over the world. The video rental market was so huge that some marketers even boasted about video rental numbers for their movies. In fact, video rentals were so popular that they actually created an entirely new side of the film industry, one that focused entirely on making cheap movies that would likely never even see theaters and would instead subsist entirely off of the rental market. There are still somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 movies that were made for the VHS market which never actually saw any other release. Eventually, in the late 80s, we started to see more affordable VHS releases. The market began to shift from one that was largely based on rentals to one that wanted to entice ownership. Some filmmakers even sought to make their movies more affordable on VHS so that they could take in more of the money being earned from VHS use. Eventually, the VHS market had become one that existed for both the purposes of renting and owning movies and other media. After VHS, there were a slew of other formats such as Laserdiscs, VCDs, and DivX, but only one would end up becoming nearly as popular as its predecessor, DVDs. Again, despite the popularity of this format, there are still a lot of movies that never even made it to DVD. VCDs had noted issues, Laserdiscs were fairly expensive and bulky, and DivX ran on a platform similar to DVD but required you to pay for access to the movie you had already bought. As a result, DVD won out and became the next big thing in the late 90s. As you may know, DVDs are still around today and are still quite popular, although their popularity is waning. In the mid-2000s, Sony decided to release the next big format, Blu-ray. The format never saw the same level of popularity as DVD, which itself was never quite as popular or groundbreaking as VHS. Blu-ray was designed to last longer and hold enough data to give people high-definition video and audio, which was the next big market at the time, with HD TVs being sold en masse. In 2015, the DVD market is now plummeting and the Blu-ray market is slowly on the decline itself. This is where digital streaming comes in. Actually, digital streaming hit the market shortly after Blu-ray and has been slowly picking up steam over the years. The advantages over physical media are obvious, as you can seemingly take your collection with you wherever you go, and you don't have to make any space for an entire physical collection or get up to put a disc in a drive. Unfortunately, there are also disadvantages, but they are so minimal that most people are willing to accept them. At this point, most major releases come with both a physical and a digital copy of the movie, and some even come with a DVD, Blu-ray, and digital copy all included. Sadly, the rental market is all but dead as a result, because rentals have shifted mostly to digital platforms. Gone are the days when video rental stores were located on every other street corner, and they are now replaced instead by modern conveniences. You've got to figure that this was by and large the plan from the get-go, as high definition was noted from the beginning as an intended end game. That being said, the fact that we are seeing so many different formats represented in one release would tend to suggest that physical formats aren't actually being replaced, no matter how much the studios may want this to happen. I want to stress that I support digital streaming media, and my Netflix Pick series can serve as evidence of this. I use digital streaming all the time, but anyone who watches my videos will know that I also buy movies on physical formats all the time as well. This has left a lot of people confused and asking me why I continue to buy into a format that they believe is quickly dying. Well, I'd like to answer that by refuting the concept that physical media is going to die off anytime soon. There is no legitimate evidence that physical formats don't have a place in the future. If anything, the evidence seems to suggest that there may always be a niche market who is interested in collecting movies on physical formats. For my first example, I'd like to shift my attention from the world of film to the world of music. In the music world, digital streaming and downloads have all but taken over previous physical markets such as CDs and vinyl. But those formats still exist. CDs are still selling quite well to certain audiences, and vinyl is actually seeing a resurgence several years after it had been seemingly replaced by CDs. Whether this is a product of nostalgia or a desire for tangible products, the end result is that we are seeing a media industry which simply cannot and will not give up on their physical formats. Why? Because there is still a niche market that is interested in buying them. This example also exists in the world of film, as we can also see a resurgence in the market for VHS. Despite the fact that the format has been seemingly dead for several years, people are still digging through old crates at garage sales and Goodwill stores to try and find movies on VHS. This market mostly exists simply because of the thousands of titles that were never produced on any other format, but that still makes it a fairly strong aftermarket. Most of these VHS tapes sell for between $20 and $40, but some of them are now fetching $400 to $500, if not more. There are multiple reasons for this market resurgence. It isn't just about finding movies that were never re-released. It's also about the historical aspect of finding movies with notably beautiful slipcovers. If a movie poster is designed to bring people into the theater, the slipcover was designed to bring people into the video rental stores and entice them to rent the movie. There are a lot of amazing examples of packaging for this era of home video, and it's not uncommon to find people who collect VHS tapes simply for the packaging. Blu-ray isn't anywhere near the state of VHS when it comes to this type of out-of-production market, but DVD is starting to get there. Already, some DVDs that are no longer produced are fetching upwards of $50 to $100 or more. I actually have a few of these titles myself. I actually bought this one for $3 at Big Lots about 4 or 5 years ago. Transformers the movie goes for between $20 and $40, and I just recently picked it up for $3. It isn't quite the same market as VHS, but it'll get there in time. With that said, the aftermarket isn't necessarily proof that a media format will never die. Although we are starting to see more vinyls produced, there isn't much of a call for VHS production, even though there are some examples of this on the market today. So where's the proof that physical media isn't about to fall off the map? Where's the evidence when Fox decides to stop putting The Simpsons on DVD? Well, believe it or not, the evidence lies with small, sometimes independent media companies. Companies like Shout Factory, their subsidiary Scream Factory, Arrow Media, Criterion, Twilight Time, Kino Lorber, and even Mill Creek are actually producing quite a few releases lately. If the market was dead, how could they expect to turn a profit? Why would they pour money into these physical releases if nobody was interested in buying them? Again, the answer isn't exactly simple to explain. While some companies opt to create limited print runs in order to entice buyers to spend big, others simply put a lot of effort into releasing the best possible product with beautiful packaging and as many special features as they can find. Mill Creek simply takes the approach of putting in minimal effort and producing cheap releases that pretty much anyone can afford. Depending on where you look, you are bound to find a small company that has found success in the physical media market via their own unique means. Why are these companies so successful if nobody is buying physical media anymore? Well, the answer is simple. There is a niche that is still buying physical media. It isn't a large group of people, but depending on how you approach them, they are willing to spend big in order to get a physical release. These companies understand that they appeal to a niche market, and they are serving that market exactly what they want. Big studios like Fox aren't interested in serving the niche, so of course they've given up on physical releases for stuff like The Simpsons. The irony in that is that Fox was the first studio to give VHS a chance, and thus they were at the forefront of the very existence of physical media, and now they are the first to show signs of ditching the medium. When it comes to the major studios, they want to sell to the mass market, not the niche market. That's why they put out cheap releases and cheap packaging. That's why they do re-releases of movies with slightly different packaging in an attempt to entice collectors, instead of actually putting effort into the releases, or making limited print runs. They don't understand or appreciate the niche market, so they don't know how to sell to that market, and thus they are most likely to leave that market when they can't turn a profit. On the other hand, the smaller companies I previously discussed are not exactly showing signs that they will be leaving the market soon. In fact, a lot of them are signing deals with bigger studios in order to produce titles that the niche audience will enjoy. Horror fans are some of the biggest collectors in the market, and that's why we're starting to see a lot of horror movie releases that nobody ever would have expected. It's starting to look like some of those straight-to-VHS movies that fetch big bucks on the aftermarket will actually see newer releases on a high-definition format like Blu-ray. Needless to say, that's a pretty big deal, and it's great news for collectors and movie buffs alike. So what does this all mean? It means that physical media and the physical formats for film and other video are nowhere near their demise quite yet. The market isn't dying, it's changing into a completely different beast. If anything, the market is starting to realize its purpose and its potential as a niche format that can still produce pretty good profits if you know what you're doing and you package your content wisely. Big studios could elect to do smaller print runs and feed the niche themselves, but they typically only think about the big picture, so chances are that they're going to leave that niche market to smaller companies. The mere fact that they are signing agreements to lease out their content en masse to these companies is suggestive of the existence and importance of this smaller niche market. Will there be a day that physical media is no more? Perhaps, but it is not this day, and it is not even anywhere near this day on the horizon. No matter what happens, if history tells us anything when it comes to physical formats, it is that out-of-print titles produce a collector's market, and thus values skyrocket. It's not as if all of my collection is someday going to be worthless. If anything, there's a possibility that a good chunk of my collection will be quite valuable someday. Collecting movies on physical formats is kind of like collecting anything else. Some people like to collect rocks, others like to collect baseball cards, but I prefer movies. I'm a huge movie buff, so why not collect the thing I am most interested in? And what is wrong with wanting to collect something? Collecting is a fantastic hobby, and enthusiasts of physical media are living the dream right now with a renaissance of content coming from smaller studios. If it's acceptable to get excited about a baseball card with a patch of a jersey on it, shouldn't it also be acceptable to get excited about a Blu-ray release with a film to sell inside? Anyone who is foretelling the doom and gloom of physical media needs a reality check. This market isn't going anywhere, and if the resurgence of an old platform like vinyl is any indication, this format could even become more popular with age. The fall of physical media amounts to a greatly exaggerated rumor at best. Don't believe the hype, and don't judge others for their choice to collect. Just watch and enjoy movies the way you want to, and let the rest fall into place as it will. I hope this lays the issue to rest once and for all, but if I'm being honest, I definitely don't expect that. If you have something to contribute to the discussion, please feel free to leave a comment about it below. If not, let me know your thoughts on the subject and tell me about your preference. Before I finish this video off, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge my supporters on Patreon. It is because of them that I was able to make this video, and I am sincerely thankful for their contributions to my channel. If you'd like to see more content like this and you'd like to see it before everyone else, please consider donating to the cause on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned in the coming months for more in-depth videos like this one.